Thank you so much again for joining us this morning for our next step in our online training. We're here set up. We've upgraded our office. We're here in the city in Brisbane. We're very excited to be sharing some good dialogue around you about working alongside buyers. I've got Jamie in with me again today to play the role of the buyer. So Jamie will be getting on camera very shortly to talk to us about some dialogue and some role plays that we're going to do. But another big week, and a big shout out to one of our crew who hopefully has managed to climb his way out of bed, Mark McCabe, who competed in the RAQ final last night under significant duress. Mark had a heavy dose of the man flu, but still battled away and did a fantastic job. So hopefully Mac is feeling a little bit better today, but well done to you, Mark. An outstanding effort as well. We've had a big week in real estate. It does look like that September and that spring action is starting to spring into action. Well, pun intended. We are looking at those increased volumes have certainly come through in the last couple of weeks. So we're looking forward to a big September of auction campaigns, hopefully a big September of auction clearance rates as well. But on that note, we might as well get straight into it. The focus of today's session is all about talking and working with our buyers, particularly on the way into the auction campaign and then on auction day itself. So we're really going to focus about the last week. What is our interaction with the buyers in the last week? And how do we do what we want them to do, which most of the cases is get them to bid, as opposed to what they want to do, which in most cases is to hold back, sit, cover their paddle up and do nothing. And I guess the best spot to start to talk about this is what the default setting of buyers is. So buyers by nature generally are apathetic. So their default setting we find is actually apathy. What they like to do is to sit and wait and hold back. And the reason they do that is the biggest fear of every buyer is overpaying. It's not even buying the wrong property. It's not making any sort of mistake like that. It's actually overpaying even for the right property. So all the dialogues that you guys, being in the front line and that we as the auctioneers hear, a lot reflects that. It talks about, we're going to speak to our broker first, or I need to have another conversation with my partner, or we need to get back through the property, or we're looking at a few properties at the moment. All of that is designed to actually distance themselves away from you, to give them space to avoid rushing in, overcommitting, and making that mistake, which is what they don't want to do. The problem with that is that inactivity, we always say, is not a strategy. Inactivity is merely a hope. They need to have some sort of strategy, and that strategy actually requires action for them to be putting their foot forward. We always find it funny, and we do a lot of training. And I was actually down in Melbourne earlier on this week, and with a company called Jealous Craig, and we did a bit of auction training with Jealous Craig, and as we always do, we always ask who the longest serving agent in the room is, and they had an agent there that had been doing real estate for 45 years. So 45 years they've been a sales agent for, and that's a lot of grey hair, and that's a lot of stress for 45 years. But 45 years they'd actually been in a sales role. And we asked what it was like when you dealt with a buyer, 45 years ago. What was it like? How did you interact with buyers? What did you do with them? And he was actually telling the story about how they used to get them and put them in the car, and there was a strategy behind putting them in the car. You'd go and show them the worst property first, and then the next property, which is slightly better, second, and then the third property that was the best one was the last one you'd show, and it was all this psychology behind getting them to sort of fall in love with that last property. But it's interesting now that we examine what happens when a buyer comes into one of our offices and what we actually do with them. These days, a buyer comes in our office, and all we do is we give them the fancy iPad. They have a flick through the listings on the iPad. We get their email address. They get an email for us every day for the rest of their life. And that's kind of our interaction with buyers. And we're certainly not here to advocate that you start putting buyers back in your cars. There's probably a few safety issues that go hand in hand with that. But it's interesting that our buyer servicing as an industry has actually gone downhill. Our vendor servicing, conversely, has gone completely up the other way. We've now got much better vendor reports, much better vendor dialogues, much better vendor communication. But ultimately, what we've done with our buyers has actually gone the other way. And one of the things we're finding a lot is that in markets that have been really strong, and we talk about the markets, Melbourne was certainly a market like that that's been particularly strong, particularly long period of time. That market has really gone ahead, and it's come off the boil slightly. Auckland's another market that's been really strong, come off the boil slightly, as has Sydney as well. Those markets actually tend to create really bad habits with buyers, because you actually get a sense of, oh, she'll be right. I don't need to follow up my buyers. I don't need to really drive offers. I don't need to communicate with them regularly, because no matter what happens, they'll turn up irrespective and buy the property because they've got no other alternative. What we actually find is the markets that are really inferior, and that's the really struggle street markets. And I know my good mate Ben Chick's on here, and Ben probably comes from one of the worst markets that you can find. up there in Mackay. They've had it tough for quite a while. That actually breeds really good habits because you do learn to make a lot with a little. You're really getting the orange and you're squeezing all the juice out of it rather than relying on whatever just sort of comes your way. So one of the adaptations we're making now for those that are in markets that are shifting is let's work on that buyer dialogue and let's focus back on buyer servicing, particularly when we've got someone who is semi-interested in the property. How do we then step them all the way through to being the person who ultimately either buys the property or is that competition on the day? And don't forget with auctions that our underbidder and our starting bidder are almost as critically as important as our highest bidder. They're almost as important, if not more important. We need them there as well. So for us, it's not for us to make judgments to say, well, you're not going to buy the property, you're this, you're that. Our job is to get bidders, collect them, put them in a pen and let the auction sort itself out. And fundamentally, for those that do a large amount of private treaty, that's probably the biggest difference between private treaty and auction in my eyes. Is private treaty is about finding one buyer, negotiating with them and getting them across the line. Auction philosophically is about gathering bidders. So our job is to gather bidders, not to discriminate on price, to collect them all, put them in a pen, let them sort out their day. So that's what our role is, overarching role, I suppose. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring Jamie on and we're going to step through the last week leading up to the auction. So Jamie's going to join us up in the hot seat in the front. Jamie's doing some great work up on the sunny coast. He's been pounding the beat and attending auctions, and I think he's drinking about 28 coffees a week at the moment, Jamie. He's not sleeping because he's up nights with the caffeine poisoning. But Jamie's doing some great stuff with us up on the sunny coast. So Jamie's joined us in to do some role play with this morning. So I'm going to be the agent. Jamie, you're going to be the buyer. You've got a bit of an interest in the property. I'm going to try and get you all the way through to auction day. So we'll step through the whole week. Hopefully you can see us all right. And I'll put them up on the board so we can sort of reflect the week as it goes past. So this is our Monday call that we're going to make to Jamie. Ring, ring.
Hello, Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. It's Justin here from Apollo Property Group. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Yourself?
Mate, very good. Hey, how are you feeling about the auction on Saturday at 26 Fifth Street?
Oh, got some anxiety, but yeah, it's looking good.
Okay. Well, look, to ease that anxiety, my sellers have actually done a couple of things to try and make life a little bit easy for you on Saturday. The first thing is they have altered their terms. So, they've opened up their terms to be altered. So if there's any change to the deposit or the settlement, we're set down for 10% in 30 days at the moment. Are there any change to either of those that might make bidding slightly easier for you?
No, not at this stage.
Okay, you wouldn't like a 5% deposit and keep an extra 5% in your bank account for an extra 30 days, earn some interest?
I haven't thought of that actually, no. But yeah, it might be able to help me with my bidding.
Okay.
Be able to bid more and then...
Sure. Well, look, let me have a chat to the sellers and I'll see if I can get that approved for you. So just to pause on that note there, that's a really easy, soft one to open up with. It actually opens up another conversation with you with the buyers further down the line. So if you could offer them that, say, look, we are 10%, but my sellers are open to 5%, would that make life more comfortable for you? Don't wait for the buyer to ask you. Volunteer it. That way it gives you a reason to actually follow that buyer up after later on. And 5% is very ample in most marketplaces at the moment. So the second part of the call. Look, Jamie, the other thing my sellers are doing to try and I guess get the result from Saturday, because they do need it sold on Saturday, is they've offered up their property for any private inspections this week at a time that you might have gone through to make yourself feel more comfortable. So I know you and your lovely partner haven't been through at night yet. Is there a night this week that you'd like to come through and check it out?
Oh, mate, kids and all that sort of stuff will be hard, but I will. Yeah, we could probably do Wednesday night.
Okay. I'm sitting down with the sellers to set the reserve on Wednesday. How would Thursday night work for you?
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Unless you could tell me how close I need to be.
Well, I haven't done it yet, but I can certainly let you know. But I'll tell you what, Thursday night we can have a conversation. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Beautiful. Excellent. We'll lock you in for Thursday night. So Jamie doesn't know it, but I've just booked Jamie in for a buyer strategy meeting on Thursday night. Because if I rang Jamie and I said, hey, Jamie, it's Justin here for Apollo Property Group. Hey, how about we sit down this week and talk about your bidding strategy? What's your likely answer going to be?
Oh, as if I want to.
Yeah. I'm all right. I've seen the block. I've got this, mate. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. So what we want to do is we actually want to get face-to-face with our buyers without them actually realising that the process behind that is to talk about their bidding strategy while giving them a chance to go through the property. So they might not have been through in a morning before. They might not have been through at night. They might have been through in the afternoon, in a twilight. Dawn might not be the best time, but every other time, really, if they haven't been through at a time, identify what time they haven't been through, and offer that up to them. It's a really good value-added way to relationship build with your buyer. Look, I know you haven't been through it at night. Would you like to see the property, how it presents at night? I know you haven't been through it at sunset. Would you like to see what it's like there at sunset? Just follow into that here. So I've booked Jamie in for a buyer strategy meeting on Thursday night, so that's good. So Thursday is squared away. So Monday, the conversation is about the terms and to try and book the buyer strategy meeting, which is an open for inspection or a private viewing is probably a better term for it. So my Tuesday call goes like this. Ring, ring.
Jamie speaking.
Hey, Jamie, it's Justin here from Apollo Property Group. How you going?
Yeah, good, yourself?
Yeah, mate, very well. Hey, just wanted to let you know, I just thought I'd give you a heads up. I'm actually sitting down to set the reserve with my sellers tomorrow night.
Okay.
So if it's okay with you, I'll actually give you a call after and let you know how that goes.
Am I the only one on it?
Well, look, at this stage, it looks like it could just be only a handful of people who are ready to go on Saturday. There's been a lot of interest in the property, but only a handful who might be in a position to actually do something.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you a call after the reserve and let you know how that goes. So what we want to do here is we want to plant the seed that you're going to inform them as to how the reserve set is going to go. You're not going to tell them the reserve, clearly, but you want to plant the seed that you might actually give them some information that they're going to find helpful. So Tuesday we've rang him and we've spoken about the reserve. The other point behind this is I would on the Monday I would actually send all of the people who've been through the property every single big piece of documentation like they're a buyer. So I would email them a PDF that contains the contract, contains the terms and conditions of auction, contains bidding registration forms both in person and on the phone. And for those that are seeing the light and doing auctions with us, the copy of the green guide as well. So I would send all of the buyers, every single person that's come through that you have an email address for, a copy of those. Treat them as a bidder until they demonstrate to you that they're not a bidder. Send them all the documentation. And then you'd never have a problem on Thursday or Friday or Saturday morning where you're scrambling to try and get a document across there because they'll have it already in their email address. So Tuesday, I've done my reserve call. There should be me. I was thinking of that reserve. There we go. I've done my reserve call. Either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning is the ideal time to set your reserve. Now, the reason behind this is twofold. Number one, it's because you just want to make sure with your sellers that you don't push that issue all the way down the end of the line. Because if you get a really good reserve, what happens then is we get excited, we get motivated, we pass that out to the market and you feel good. You're better off feeling good from Tuesday through till Saturday than feeling good from 10:55 to 11 on Saturday. So you get that message out there. The other thing is that if you get a horrible reserve, which happens from time to time because sellers will protect themselves by inflating their reserve, it actually gives you 3 or 4 days to address it. So you're not getting it at 10:55 and going, oh, well, that's it. 4 weeks of work just wasted because they haven't listened to me. You get it early in the week. You get a chance to actually address it. Plus what allows you to do, it allows you to put it to the side, not forget about your seller, but definitely park your seller to the side and say to the seller, look, the next couple of days, I'm really going to be in close contact with my buyers and they're going to be my focus. Because you can't change, or you probably can't change your seller's intention around their reserve in the last 3 days leading up to the auction, but you can definitely change how the buyers approach it. Because every conversation a buyer is going to be having with a friend and a neighbor and a cousin who did real estate for a couple of days here and there, everyone's going to be telling them, don't bid, don't bid, don't bid. Our job is to be the antithesis of that and tell them, do bid, do bid. Here's why you need to bid. Here's another reason to bid. My sellers want to let it go, etc., etc. So that's what we got on Wednesday. So this is now the Wednesday call where I'm going to give Jamie a follow up as to the reserve. It's the reserve wrap up. Ring, ring.
Hi, Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. Justin from Apollo Property Group. How you going?
Yeah, really well now.
That's good. How you feeling about Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to call this place home.
That's good. That's good. I'm really pleased to hear that. Hey, just want to let you know I sat down and set the reserve with my sellers last night.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
Was it unbelievable high or low?
Unbelievable. Look, Saturday's going to be a really good day.
I hope so.
I know so. And we'll see you and your partner tomorrow night for your private viewing.
Yeah. We're still on. What time is that again?
6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's it.
Terrific. See you then. So again, the dialogue is the reserve is unbelievable. So unbelievable can reference that it is unbelievably bad, as Jamie picked up, or unbelievably good. But unbelievable is a nice positive term that hopefully will set your sellers at ease. Now, I set your buyers at ease. Now, Jamie pushes back on me and says, well, what is it? You obviously want to say, look, I can't reveal that to you. By law, I can't do that. But my sellers have listened to what I've said throughout the campaign, and they've reaffirmed that their intention and their commitment is to sell the property under the hammer. That's all you need to say. Now, even if you have a slightly high reserve, don't stress. The average adjustment figure at reserves in 2018 of auctions that our company has called has been 6.8% off the reserve. So chances are your reserve is going to be higher because the seller's going to be insulating themselves against the chance of it underselling. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we don't buy into what the seller says. My reserve is ready to go. My sellers have reaffirmed their commitment that they need to sell the property under the hammer on Saturday. So then we get to Thursday, which is our big meat and potatoes one, which is our buyer strategy meeting. So there's 3 outcomes I want to have here. Number 1 is I want to clear up any myths that Jamie might have. Number 2, I want to get Jamie to open the bidding. Number 3, I want Jamie to control the bidding. Now, Jamie, for the purpose of this, is going to act like the usual buyer who's pretty standoffish, pretty non-committal, pretty scared, pretty nervous, but blustering that with, hey, I've read a couple of domain articles and I think I've got this covered. So we're in the property. Jamie's had a look around the property. We're here sitting down hopefully with Jamie and his lovely partner. So, Jamie, how are you feeling about the auction on Saturday?
Oh, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Have you given any thought when the auctioneer asks for an opening bid what you might do?
That's where everyone waits, yeah?
Not the smart people.
Oh, that's not me then.
Okay. You're not a smart person?
No.
Well, at least you're self-aware, and that counts for something, I suppose. The 2 myths you want to clear up here are this. Look, Jamie, there's a couple of things I wanted to point out that may not be in your favour if your strategy is to hold back and wait and see. And everyone that's on this training should understand these couple of legislative pieces. Number 1, there is no obligation for an auctioneer to announce a property on the market in Queensland before it sells. So there's no obligation that sits there. It's done as a courtesy, not as a legislative requirement. So what that actually means is the auctioneer at any point of the auction can go once, twice, third and final call. We are selling, we are sold. They actually don't even have to go once, twice, third and final call. They can just sell it. So none of the first once, twice, third or the announcing the property on the market are legal requirements. So from a buyer to base their strategy around something that's not legally required can be quite dangerous. So you want to clear that up straight away. So understand that if your strategy is to wait and see, what are you going to wait for? Most buyers will say, well, I'm going to wait till it comes on the market. Okay, you understand in Queensland that doesn't have to happen, right? So this property that you want, that you're going to be probably living in for the next 20 or 30 years, you're basing your whole strategy to buy it around something that may or may not happen. That's very curious. And more than curious, it's incredibly risky. The second thing I wanted to explain is this, Jamie, is I'm not sure if you're aware, but in Queensland, there's no first right to negotiate for the highest bidder. Are you aware of that?
No.
So New South Wales has first right of refusal. Some other states have some first rights as well, particularly in Melbourne, or in Victoria, I should say. But in Queensland, there's no first right to negotiate for the highest bidder. So what that means, Jamie, for you is that even if you do bid on the auction and you are the highest bidder, if we can't get it done with you then and there, we will pass the property in and every buyer can sweep on in. So that's people that are subject to finance, subject to building a pest, subject to sale, who want a cooling off period, who may need a price guide, things like that. They can all come in at that point. So what you've got on Saturday is a really brief window where you're in a really fortuitous position because the terms you're offering are the terms my seller wants. So what that means is they'll more than likely discount their price.
So if I offer an amount, they can sell it to me then.
Absolutely.
If they sell it to me then, if I don't, then they'll call everyone that's made an inquiry.
Well, that's exactly right. They will. Yeah. We'll do the right thing by a seller, and that's to create as much competition as we can. So, look, Jamie, I'll ask you this question: at what price would this property just be? It'd be the best buy of the year for you. You wouldn't stop smiling for weeks.
No. That long's a piece of string. I want some figure. I want maybe 500 grand.
Okay. So if you make an opening bid of 500, what's the only risk that you run?
Buying it.
Buy it. Wouldn't that be good?
Be great.
So what do we do that? Because the other thing you do by bidding straight away, Jamie, is you actually send a message to the rest of the buyers that you're there to buy it. And what you might actually find is you actually might intimidate a couple of bidders out of bidding. And if your competition levels fall away, that's going to be a great outcome for you. Mm. Less competition means you're in the box seat, which means you probably pick up the property at a better price. So why not do something that actually makes the competition intimidated rather than sitting back, which actually makes the competition feel more comfortable because they feel they've got less competition. So that might be a good thing. The second thing that's really important for you, Jamie, is you need to make sure that you're controlling the bidding at all times. And I'll explain to you the reason why. So the way that we conduct our auctions here in Queensland, because there's no first right to negotiate, what we will do is we'll pause the auction as we're going and negotiate at that point. So if we don't get to the figure that we're prepared to sell at or our seller's prepared to sell at, what we'll simply do is we'll pause the auction, we'll take you aside, and we'll let you know a figure that might buy. So I'll give you an example of this about why this is so critically important. So let's say you're the bidder that has gone after it. You've bid, which is great. Jessie's the person who, Jessie's over behind our camera as well. So she's praying she doesn't have to come on camera at the moment. So Jessie's the person that is sitting back and waiting. She's the Joe Cool bidder, the Fonzie, hey, we're all good. We're just going to swoop in at the end and buy it, which is what every buyer thinks, but it very, very, very rarely, if never, happens. So, Jamie, your bidding is going. You've placed your bid of 500. You've got another bidder who's going against you. Bidding pauses at 550. Our reserve's at 650. So bidding's paused at 550. The bidding underneath you is at 545. And they're sitting back now. They're like, no, we placed a couple of bids. We're going to wait till it comes on the market. So we take you aside, Jamie. What we'll do is we'll take you inside that point. You'll have privacy of having negotiation with us. We'll give you the figure that the seller's prepared to sell you the property. So the first thing that you'll get is knowledge that no other buyer has. You'll be the only person at that auction, only buyer at that auction, who knows where they've got to get to, what the finish line actually is. The rest of the buyers have no idea. The second thing is you'll have time to actually process your decision. So we'll say, would you like to increase your offer? We'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. We'll leave you in the room. You can rip out the calculator if you want, the home loan repayment calculator, the normal calculator, the stamp duty calculator, have the conversation with your partner. We'll come into you. You can make an increased offer. We'll go to the seller. That can go backwards and forwards a number of times. Now, for those that ever watch auctions or have been a part of auctions, that's where you generally get that really long pause when that's taking place. The buyer's making an offer, going to the seller's counter offering, it's backwards and forwards. So let's say this process takes place, and this process has taken us 15 or 20 minutes. What you have done, though, you've increased your offer to 625, and the seller's agreed to put the property on the market or sell it at 625. So we've jumped now from 550 on top of the 545 bid. You've increased to 625. So a couple of things that have transpired here. Number one is you've been inside, you've been comfortable throughout that period. All of our other bidders, so Jessie's been sitting outside the whole time, looking at the door, going, I wonder what's going on. Jessie thinks the bid is at 550 at the present point. So we come back out and we make a couple of announcements that are earth-shattering stuff to Jess. Number one, the bid is now at 625, not at 550. So the first thing that she's got to process is, oh, gee, it's $75,000 above the level of the last bid. I wasn't expecting that. The second thing, we come out now and we say, and folks, great news, our sellers have agreed that if there is no further bidding, I'm going to sell the property immediately here on the left-hand side to bidder number 3. So the second thing that Jess has to process as the hanging back bidder is, yeah, it's for real now. There's no safety net. We have to put all our cards on the table now. And the third thing is now that we've probably got 35 or 40 seconds of some lunatic up the front going, first time now, second time now, yelling at the top of their voice with all the energy and excitement that you'd expect out of an auctioneer, while Jessie's trying to make a critical decision that's going to affect her life for the next 20 or 30 years. And Jessie has placed herself in a situation where she is under pressure to make that decision quickly, and it's going to carry ramifications for a long, long, long period of time. So what you want to say to your buyers is this: the overarching message behind that scenario is to say, if you sit back and wait, all you're doing is putting pressure on yourself. That's it. That's the only person you're putting pressure on. You're taking all the pressure off everybody else and you're putting it firmly and squarely on your own shoulders. By putting yourself out in front, what it actually buys you, it actually buys you control. So Jamie has held the whip hand on that auction for the last 20 minutes now. And every other buyer's following the Pied Piper, who is Jamie, to the tune that he's playing is the bagpipes? What did the Pied Piper play? Is it a flute? Jess, you've got kids, you read this? No? Whatever it was. Someone's got the answer. If you could write it in the chat box, that'd be great. I'd love to know, what does the Pied Piper actually play? I think it's a flute. Is it a flute?
Oh, I play a tune.
Jess, sing out. If someone gets us the right answer, please let us know. We might even give him can we give him a free? We'll give you a free ebook if you get the right answer. The first right answer that comes in will get a copy of our auction guide free ebook. So there you go. There's some incentive. So anyway, the whole crowd is following Jamie as the Pied Piper. They're following him step for step because they've had to fall in behind him because they were sitting back and waiting for something to happen. Something has happened and it's taken out of your hands now. And you've got to make a snap decision all of a sudden now for it to take place. So that's our challenge. We want to make sure that our buyers are actually acting in a way, in a means that actually helps themselves. Do we have an answer, Jess? We don't have an answer yet.
Everyone's Googling.
Everyone's Googling. Yeah, I can see all the windows opening up. Yeah. What is the pipe? I'm pretty sure it's a flute. I don't know. And then all the rats follow him or the children?
Oh, that's before my time.
Before your time, right. It made me sound so old. Back in the 80s when I was a child of the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was a flute. But anyway.
Nina has said penny whistle and Phil has said a magic flute.
Oh, a penny whistle or a magic flute. So, Jess, you're going to have to Google the answer and find who's correct. So, I wouldn't even be able to pick a penny whistle out of the lineup if it was two instrument lineup with a saxophone. I still wouldn't be able to pick it out. So, yeah, penny whistle's beyond my things. And I'm not sure just what a magic flute and a flute is, but yeah, interesting answer. Jess is Googling as we speak, so we'll have resolution to this very, very soon. But the buyers, what we want them to do is we want them to act. What acting gives you is control, and control is what you want at an auction. You're scared and you're nervous because it's things that are out of your control. We were having a conversation last night at the auctioneering competition about Peter Bergen, who was running the competition, asked me, as I've done a few competitions, do I still get nervous? And I said, yeah, I definitely get nervous. I get nervous about the things that I can't control. Things that I can't control are how the bidder's going to act, how's the bidding sequence going to play out, what questions are they going to ask. So for the buyers, put yourself in a situation where you can control things. That'll actually help you. Help yourself, and hopefully that'll get you to the right path. So Jess, have we got an answer yet? Are you still Googling?
Well, it says the pipe just referred to a musical instrument of his choice.
Oh, of his choice. That's very vague. So yeah. I think that might actually be. We'll give both our winners then. I guess a magic flute and a penny whistle. I think points for encouragement anyway. So we'll make sure we email you guys a copy across of that after the training session. So Thursday, so we've had this conversation with Jamie. So I asked Jamie, look, how are you feeling about bidding on the day now?
Yeah, pretty good.
So what we can do to make your life even easier, if you like, to really get yourself out in the lead is as soon as we ask for an opening bid, what I can do is I can actually throw a bid up on your behalf straight away, go 500. So you're in the lead right from the first moment, and it sends a message to the other buyers who may not be expecting that they're back on their heels. How does that sound?
Yeah, I like winning.
Yeah, great. Now, have this conversation with every person who is looking to bid, not just one. Because if you put all your hopes on one person's shoulders, they're probably going to let you down. They're probably going to get scared. They're going to get nervous. They're going to back off. But if you have the conversation with 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 people, depending on how many bidders that you've got, then you'll build yourself insurance through numbers. So have that conversation with everyone. I've never had an auction yet where we've opened up for an opening bid and we've had 5 people all start at the same figure at once. It just doesn't happen. So give yourself the best possible opportunity of someone starting by speaking to everyone. So that's our Thursday conversation. We finish up our inspection from there. So Friday, the next step, we're going to do what we call the campaign wrap-up with Jamie. Ring, ring.
Jamie speaking.
Hey, Jamie, Justin here from Apollo Property Group. How are you?
Yeah, mate, pumped now.
That's good. Hey, just wanted to let you know, I'm just doing the final report up for my seller now, so I thought I'd give you some information that might help you tomorrow with your strategy, although we've spoken about that. As you can understand, with a property like this, there's been a lot of interest in it. It's a really desirable home. A lot of people really like it. What has transpired, though, particularly in the last 48 hours, it does look like a lot of our buyers in a position where they can't bid under the hammer. They're going to be waiting until post-auctions. They have various terms that need to come into the contract. So on the day, it could just be you, or it could just be you and a handful of others, which puts you in a great spot.
Why do they have terms now?
Well, it's due to their own personal circumstances. So some of them have homes to sell that they haven't been able to clear, and some of them also need further finance from the bank. You're in a really good spot being a cash buyer because that's what my seller wants.
Okay.
Cool. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this call is twofold. Buyers are funny animals. If there's too much competition, they get spooked out. If there's not enough competition, they get spooked out. So what I want to say is I want to say to Jamie, look, this property is desirable. People love this property. Don't fear about that. But then pull it back and say, but it looks like it could just be you or you and a handful of others in a cash position. So you're in a really good spot. So I've sort of given Jamie both. I've said, look, a lot of people love the property, which is a good thing, but don't worry about the competition because there may not be a lot of that. Now, if you're going to have 16 registered bidders, don't use that dialogue. You'll just get caught out and you'll be a liar. But most of the auctions that we call generally don't have that. If you've got 1, 2, 3 or 4 registered bidders, then that's the path you want to head down. The last thing I'm going to do on Saturday is I'm going to send Jamie an SMS, and it's going to say this. Hey, Jamie, Justin here. Just spoke with the sellers. They're so excited to sell you the property today. Good luck. And that's our week. And I'll say that dialogue again. Hey, Jamie, Justin here. Just got a call from the sellers. They're so excited to sell you the property today. Good luck. Sell you being the key word. Now, the message that I'm sending to Jamie all this week, because I'm communicating with over and over and over, is what?
You're a real chance of buying this.
You're my buyer. You are the person. If I leave Jamie alone, what message am I sending to you?
Oh, you're not getting back to me. Something's wrong with the property, or I've got no chance.
Yep, I've got a better buyer than you, so I'm gonna put you to the side. So don't underestimate how important your constant communication with buyers to let them know they're a chance. So that dialogue again. Monday, the terms and the offer of the buyer strategy meeting or the private viewing as we term it up. Tuesday, letting them know you're going to be setting the reserve. Wednesday, the reserve wrap-up call. Thursday, ideally, is our buyer strategy meeting. Friday is a campaign wrap-up. Saturday morning, the good morning text. Now, this is working on the assumption that your auction's on a Saturday. If it's on a Sunday or on a Monday, you want to work in the week leading up to it, the same sort of format. I know, Ben, you do auctions on a Monday night, Jess, at Mackay guys do it? Yep. Monday or Tuesday night, so you're going to work from effectively the Tuesday or the Wednesday the week before. So the other guys that do in-rooms, same thing. Brittany, I see you're on. You guys do a lot of Sundays from memory. So for you, you're probably going to start this on a Tuesday and work that way, work downwards. So your buyer strategy meeting ideally is going to be on a Friday prior to them inspecting other properties on a weekend. So this is just the way that we need to be doing it in a marketplace where our buyers, A, aren't that confident, and B, aren't that well read and understood around auctions. So this dialogue should just help us out a little bit. A couple other little pieces of dialogue that might help us before we wrap up this morning. The first one is if you only have one registered bidder for your auction, that's okay. It actually helps you in a lot of cases. So I'm gonna work on the assumption that after all this, Jamie is my only registered bidder on the day. So what I do is 5 minutes before the auction, once I know that Jamie's the only registered bidder, I'm going to come and have this conversation with him. Hey, Jamie, how you feeling?
Oh, yeah, my stomach's in my mouth. But
yeah, good. That's how I feel every time I call an auction. So we're in the same boat. Hey, look, I've got some really good news for you. You're the only one holding one of those paddles today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said to you, that it just seems the predominant amount of interest does lie after the auction, waiting for it to get passed in, which puts you in a great spot for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to make this really easy for you. If you can start us off with an opening bid, any figure you like, doesn't matter where you start it, what that'll give us the power to do is to pause the auction, take you aside, and let you know whether the seller will sell you the property. How's that sound?
Yeah, okay.
Great. Good luck. Any figure you like.
Okay. Good.
Easy. So easy. There's no point, as a strategy point, there's no point in not telling him that because he's going to work it out nice and quickly later on. Number two, there's no point in getting him to start and then placing constant vendor bids against him. It'll just frustrate your buyers. 500, 550 on behalf of the seller, 600, 650 on behalf of it. It just doesn't work. Just get him to start it and then pause it and then take him aside and negotiate. We had one last weekend or 2 weekends ago. If you can hear that banging, there's actually a window cleaner here who's cleaning our windows. We're about 30 floors up, or 14 floors up anyway. So,
it's a lot of trust.
Not sure, but yeah, that's right. That is trust. Yeah, not sure I like that job. Anyway, we had an auction a couple of weeks ago with the team from Deborah Evans Properties, Fraser Evans. I'm not sure if Fraser's on training this morning. He usually is a pretty keen advocate for it. And we actually did this before the auction started. So we went to the buyer, said, look, if you can give us an offer, we'll go and take it to the seller before the auction even starts. We got an agreed figure. We said, okay, we're going to call it on the market. We don't think anyone's going to bid because no one else is registered, but understand that people can register, but it's very unlikely that's going to happen. Went through our terms and conditions, went through our description, opening bid, confirmed the offer of $850. Thank you very much. $850,000 on the market. We sell the property. So there's no reason you can't run it that way or pause during the auction, but let the buyers know they're the only one. It's going to help them. and it's going to help you with your transparency and relationship with them. But make sure you also hang out that looming threat that if it passes in, gee, there's a lot of people that are ready to negotiate this post-auction. Because that'll just make sure that they do what they can to try and secure it for the 10 or 15 minutes that are there. And when you get into a negotiation on the floor, we're not going to cover negotiation too much right here and right now, but it's really important to have empathy and don't put empty threats out there that aren't supported. So we hear dialogue a lot from people that say to Jamie, oh, well, look, I've got a lot of conditional interest now. If you don't buy the property today, acknowledge that, but also say that that's not what we want. Look, Jamie, I've got some conditional interest that's waiting on the property, but my seller doesn't want to go down that path. They'd much prefer to try and sell it to you. So I'm really committed to trying to do that first. So let the buyer know that you're on their side. Then to the seller, get the seller to try and empathize with how the buyer's feeling. Oh, that's a really low offer. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, with respect, every buyer comes here trying to think how cheaply they can get it. I'm sure, Jamie, you're the same. I'm yet to meet a buyer that's walked up before an auction, shook my hand and said, I'm going to make the seller so happy today. Just doesn't happen. Every buyer wants it as cheap as they can. Every seller wants to get as much as they can. And the truth usually sits somewhere in between the two. And with your negotiation, the last piece I want to put out there is always address the issue. So whoever your issue might be, what I mean by that is that if Jamie's given me a bid of 600 and all the predominant feedback and the reserve is up in the 7s, go to Jamie first. Say, Matt, I need a little bit more out of you to increase your offer and get us going in the right direction. Alternatively, on the flip side, if Jamie's given me a bid of 750, the reserve's too high at 8, but all the market feedback's been at 7 in the offers prior, then go to your seller first because the seller's the issue. So we always should be trying to address the issue first when we go into our negotiation. But guys, that's all we wanted to cover off on today. Predominantly, Jess, what date is our next session? I think it's about a month or so's time, but that'll be emailed out to you pretty shortly. But we'll be hanging around for a couple of minutes. If there's any questions that you've got, feel free to tap them away. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Good luck. And to those that gave us the answers to the Pied Piper question, thank you. We'll make sure you get a copy of the ebook across pretty soon. On behalf of all the Apollo team, please enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you again very soon.